Then, after a silence, Narad made reply, tuning his lips to earthly sound. He spoke, implacable in the passion of their will, lifting the hammer of titanic toil, the demiurges of universal work, they shape with giant strokes thereof. Their sons are marked with their enormous stamp of fire.
Good morning. In reading Canto 2 of Book 6, the Book of Fate, the way of fate and the problem of pain. This is one of the most significant cantos in Savitri, dealing with a very complex philosophical issue of the nature of fate, and importantly, also the reason behind pain and suffering in this world, a world presumably created by the divine. So why was this allowed to be? Why is there this suffering? So these issues are dealt with in this particular canto, and this is, I believe, the last canto that Sri Aurobindo worked on Savitri at the end of his life. In Canto 1, which we've just completed, it was written earlier, and it describes more of the dramatic interchange between Savitri, the Queen Mother, and Narad, the heavenly sage, who pronounces the word of fate, the fate that Satyavan will die in exactly 1 year. I'll just review a couple of those interchanges from Canto 1. Narad, at the end of his statement, says, this is on page 431, "In one brief year, when this bright hour flies back and perches carelessly on a branch of time, this sovereign glory ends, heaven lent to earth. This splendor vanishes from the mortal sky. Heaven's greatness came, but was too great to stay. 12 swift-winged months are given to him and her. This day returning, Satyavan must die. A lightning bright and nude, the sentence fell. But the queen cried, vain then can be heaven's grace. Heaven mocks us with the brilliance of its gifts, for death is a cupbearer of the wine, of too brief joy held up to mortal lips, for a passionate moment by the careless gods. But I reject the grace and the mockery. Mounting thy car, go forth, O Savitri, and travel once more through the peopled lands. Alas, in the green gladness of the woods, thy heart has stooped to a misleading call. Choose once again and leave this faded head. Death is the gardener of this wonder tree. Love's sweetness sleeps in his pale marble hand. And then on the next page, 432, Savitri answers, and at the end of her answer, she says, my heart has sealed its troth to Satyavan. Its signature adverse fate cannot efface. Its seal, not fate, nor death, nor time dissolve. Those who shall part who have grown one being within. Death's grip can break our bodies, not our souls. If death take him, I too know how to die. Let fate do with me what she will or can. I am stronger than death and greater than my fate. My love shall outlast the world. Doom falls from me, helpless against my immortality. Fate's law may change, but not my spirit's will. I think it may be interesting just to read a relatively short passage from Sri Aurobindo's letters about fate and free will, which bears on this response of Savitri. So this is from Letters on Yoga 1, page 515 and 16. Sri Aurobindo says, what is evident is that there is an element of the predictable accurately and in detail, as well as in large points in the course of events. But that was already known. It leaves the question still unsolved whether all is so predictable, whether destiny is the sole factor in existence, or there are other factors also that can modify destiny. Or destiny being given, there are not different sources or powers or planes of destiny, and we can modify the one with which we started by calling in another destiny source, power, or plane, and making it active in our life. Metaphysical questions are not so simple that they can be trenchantly solved either in one sense or in another contrary to it. That is the popular way of settling things, but it is quite summary and inconclusive. All is free will or all is destiny. It is not so simple as that. This question of free will or determination is the most knotty of all metaphysical questions, and nobody has been able to solve it. For good reason, that both destiny and will exist, and even a free will exists somewhere. The difficulty is only how to get at it and make it effective. So we see how that underlies Savitri's response. So now we're going to begin reading through Canto 2. We'll read through without commentary, and after we finish, I'll break it into two parts. After we finish the first 15 pages or so, then we'll go back and go through it again, commenting. So we're on page 437, Canto 2, The Way of Fate and the Problem of Pain. So we'll start, Artem.
Yes. A silence sealed the irrevocable decree, the word of fate that fell from heavenly lips, fixing a doom on power could ever reverse, unless heaven's will itself could change its course. Or so it seemed, yet from the silence rose one voice that questioned changeless destiny, a will that strove against the immutable will. A mother's heart had heard a faithful speech that rang like a sanction to the call of death, and came like a child close to life and hope. Yet hope sank down like an extinguished fire. She felt the linked, inevitable hand invade the secrecy of her guarded soul, and smite with sudden pain its still content, and the empire of her hard-won quietude. A while she felt to level of a human mind, a field of mortal grief and nature's law. She bore a common lot of men, and felt that common hearts endures in time.
Thank you. Margaret?
Voicing Earth's question to the inscrutable power, the queen now turned to the still immobile seer, assailed by the discontent in nature's depths, partner in the agony of dump-driven things, and all the misery, all the ignorant cry, passionate like sorrow, questioning. Heaven, she spoke, lending her speech to the surface soul on earth. She uttered the suffering in the world's dumb heart, and man's revolt against his ignorant fate. O seer, in the earth's strange twine-natured life, by what pitiless adverse necessity, or what cold freak of a creator's will, by what random accident or governed chance that shaped a rule out of fortuitous steps, made destiny from an hour's emotion, came into the unreadable mystery of time, the dire mystery of grief and pain. Is it thy God who made this cruel law, or some disastrous power has marred his work, and he stands helpless to defend or save?
Thank you.
Seed was sown in the life's false start, when evil twined with good on earthly soil, then first appeared the melody of mind. Its sparks of thought, its quest for the aim of life, it twisted into forms of goods and ill, the frank simplicity of the animal acts. It turned the straight path hewn by the body's God, followed the zigzag of the uncertain course of life that wanders, seeking for its aim. In the pale starlight falling from thought's skies, it guides the unsure idea, the wavering will. Lost was the instinct's safe identity, with the arrow point of being's inmost side, marred the sure steps of nature's simple walk, and truth and freedom in the growing soul. Out of some ageless innocence and peace, privilege of souls not yet betrayed to birth, cast down to suffer on this hard, dangerous earth, our life was born in pain and with a cry.
Thank you. Next.
Although earth nature welcomes heaven's breath, inspiring matter with the will to live, 1,000 ills assail the mortal's hours and wear away the natural joy of life. Our bodies are an engine cunningly made, but for all its parts as cunningly are planned, contrived ingeniously with demon skill, its apt, inevitable heritage of mortal danger and peculiar pain, its payment of the tax of time and fate, its way to suffer and its way to die. This is the ransom of our high estate, the sign and stamp of our humanity. A grisly company of maladies come, licensed lodgers, into man's bodily house, purveyors of death and torturers of life. In the malignant hollows of the world, in its subconscious cavern passages, ambushed they lie, waiting their hour to leap, surrounding with danger the sieged city of life. Admitted into the citadel of man's days, they mine his force and maim or suddenly kill.
Thank you.
They mean his force and maim or suddenly kill ourselves within us, lethal forces nurse. We make up our own enemies our guest, out of their hole like breast they creep and groan. The chords of the divine musician lyre till fred and thin the music dies away, or crushing snaps with a last tragic note. All that we are is like a thought best. All that we strive to be alter like a dream in the grey sleep of matter ignorance. Mind suffer lamed by world disharmony and the unloveliness of human things. A treasure misspent of cherishly, fruitlessly sold in the bazar of blind destiny. A gift of priceless value from time gods, lost or misshelled in the uncaring world. Life is marvel, missed, an art grown by a seeker in a dark and obscure place. An ill-armed warrior facing dreadful odds, an imperfect worker given a baffling task, an ignorant judge of problem, ignorance made it heavenward, flight reach close and keyless gate. Its glorious outburst patter out in mere on nature gift.
Thank you. Next.
On nature's gifts to man a curse was laid. All works inarmed by its own opposites. Error is the comrade of our mortal thought, and falsehood lurks in the deep bosom of truth. Sin poisons with its vivid flowers of joy, or leaves a red scar burnt across the soul. Virtue is a grey bondage and a goal. At every step is laid for us a snare, alien to reason and the spirit's light. Our fount of action from a darkness wells. In ignorance and nations are our roots, a growing register of calamities. In the past's account, the future's book of fate.
The centuries pile man's follies and man's crimes upon the countless crowd of nature's ills, as if the world's stone load was not enough. A crop of miseries obstinately is sown by his own hand in the furrows of the gods, the vast increasing tragic harvest reaped from old misdeeds buried by oblivious time.
Thank you.
He walks by his own choice into hell's trap. This mortal creature is his own worst foe. His science is an artificer of doom. He ransacks earth for means to harm his kind. He slays his happiness and others' good. Nothing has he learned from time and its history. Even as of old, in the raw youth of time, when earth ignorant ran on the highways of fate, old forms of evil cling to the world's soul, war making not the sweet smiling calm of life. Battle and rapine, ruin and massacre are still the fierce pastimes of man's warring tribes. An idiot hour destroys what centuries made. His wanton rage or frenzied hate lays low. The beauty and greatness by his genius wrought, and the might output of a nation's toil. All he has achieved he drags into the precipice. His grandeur he turns into an epic of doom and fall. His littleness crawls content through squalor and mud. He calls heaven's retribution on his head and wallows in his self-made misery. A part author of cosmic tragedy, his will conspires with death and time and fate.
Thank you.
His brief appearance on the enigmatic earth ever recurs, but brings no high result to this wanderer through the aeon rings of God that shut his life in their vast longevity. His soul's wide search and ever-returning hopes pursue the useless orbit of their course in a vain repetition of lost toils across a track of soon-forgotten lives. All is an episode in a meaningless tale. Why is it all, and wherefore are we here? If to some being of eternal bliss, it is our spirit's destiny to return, or some still impersonal height of endless calm, since that we are, and out of that we came. Whence rose the strange and sterile interlude lasting in vain through interminable time? Who willed to form or feign a universe in the cold and endless emptiness of space? Or if these beings must be, and their brief lives, what need had the soul of ignorance and tears? Whence rose the call for sorrow and for pain? Or all came helplessly without a cause? What power forced the immortal spirit to birth?
Thank you.
The eternal witness, once of eternity, a deathless sojourner with transient scenes. He camps in life's half-lit obscurity amid the debris of his thoughts and dreams. Or who persuaded it to fall from bliss and forfeit its immortal privilege? Who laid on it the ceaseless will to live, a wanderer in this beautiful, sorrowful world, and bear its load of joy and grief and love? Or if no being watches the works of time, what hard impersonal necessity compels the vain toil of brief and living things? A great illusion then has built the stars. But where then is the soul's security, its poise in its circling of unreal suns? Or else it is a wanderer from its home who strayed into a blind alley of time and chance and finds no issue from the meaningless world. Or where begins and ends illusion's reign? Perhaps the soul we feel is only a dream, eternal self a fiction, sensed in trance.
Thank you.
Then, after a silence, Narad made reply, turning his lips to earthly sound he spoke, and something now of the deep sense of fate weighted the fragile hints of mortal speech. His forehead shone with vision solemnized, turned to a tablet of supernal thoughts, as if characters of an unwritten tongue had left in its breath the inscriptions of the gods. Bare in that light, time toiled, his unseen works detected, the broad-flung far-seeing schemes unfinished, which his aeon flight unrolls, were mapped already in that world-wide look. Was then the sun a dream because there is a night? Hidden in the mortal's heart, the eternal lives. A lives secret in the chamber of thy soul. A light shines there, nor pain nor grief can cross. A darkness stands between thyself and him. Thou can not hear or feel the marvelous guess. Thou cannot see the beatific sun. O Queen, thy thought is the light of the ignorance. Its brilliant curtain hides from thee God's face.
Thank you. No.
It illumines a world born from the inconscience, but hides the immortal's meaning in the world. Thy mind's light hides from thee the eternal's thought. Thy heart's hopes hide from thee the eternal's will. Earth's joys shut from thee the immortal's bliss. Thence rose the need of a dark, intruding God, the world's dread teacher, the creator, pain. Where ignorance is, there suffering too must come. Thy grief is a cry of darkness to the light. Pain was the firstborn of the inconscience, which was thy body's dumb original base. Already slept there pain's subconscient shape, a shadow in a shadowy tenebrous womb. Till life shall move, it waits to wake and be. In one call with joy came forth the dreadful power. In life's breast it was born, hiding its twin. But pain came first, then only joy could be. Pain ploughed the first hard ground of the world roused. By pain a spirit started from the clod. By pain life stirred in the subliminal deep.
Thank you.
In turn, submerged, hidden in matter's trance, awoke to itself the dreamer, sleeping mind. It made a visible realm out of its dreams. It drew its shapes from the subconscious depth, then turned to look upon the world it had made. By pain and joy, the bright and tenebrous twins. The inanimate world perceived its sentient soul. Else had the innocent never suffered change. Pain is the hammer of the gods to break, a dead resistance in the mortal's heart. His slow inertia as of living stone. If the heart were not forced to want and weep, his soul would have lain down content at ease, and never thought to exceed the human start, and never learned to climb towards the sun. This earth is full of labor packed with pain. Throes of an endless birth queers her still. The centuries end, the ages vainly pass, and yet the Godhead in her is not born. The ancient mother faces all with joy, calls for the ardent bang, the grandiose thrill, for with pain and labor all creation comes.
Thank you. Would you like to read? No. Okay. Then.
The ancient mother faces all with joy, calls for the ardent pang and grandiose thrill. For with pain and labor all creation comes. His earth is full of the anguish of the gods. Ever they travail, driven by time's god, and strive to work out the eternal will, and shape the life divine in mortal forms. His will must be worked out in human breast, against the evil that rises from the gulfs, against the world's ignorance and its obstinate strength, against the stumblings of man's pervert will, against the deep folly of his human mind, against the blind reluctance of his heart. The spirit is doomed to pain till man is free. There is a clamor of a battle, a tramp, a march. A cry arises like a moaning sea, a desperate laughter under the bowls of death, a doom of blood and sweat and toil and tears. Men die that man may live and God be born. An awful silence watched the tragic time. Pain is the hand of nature sculpturing man to greatness, and inspire labor chisels with heavenly cruelty and unwilling mold.
Thank you.
Implacable in the passion of their will, lifting the hammers of titanic toil, the demiurges of the universe work. They shape with giant strokes their own. Their suns are marked with their enormous stamp of fire. although the shaping God's tremendous touch is torture unbearable to mortal nerves, the fiery spirit grows in strength within, and feels the joy in every tightened pang. He who would save himself lives bare and calm. He who would save the race must share its pain. This he shall know who obeys that grandiose urge. The great who came to save this suffering world and rescue out of time's shadow and the law, must pass beneath the yoke of grief and pain. They are caught by the wheel that they had hoped to break. On their shoulders they must bear man's load of fate. Heaven's riches they bring, their sufferings count the price, or they pay the gift of knowledge with their lives.
Thank you.
The sons of God born as the Son of Man has drunk the bitter cup, own Godhead depth, the depth the eternal owes to the fallen kind. His will has bound to death and struggling life, that earns in vain for rest and endless peace. Now is the debt paid, wiped off the original score. The Eternal suffers in a human forms. He has signed salvation's testament with his blood. He has opened the doors of his undying peace. The deity compensate the creature's claim. The Creator bears the law of pain and death. The retribution smite the incarnate God. His love has paved the mortal's roads to heaven. He has given his life and light to balance here the dark account of mortal ignorance. It is finished, the dread mysterious sacrifice offered by the God's martyred body for the world. Gethsemane and Calvary are his lot. He cries the cross on which man's soul is nailed. His escort is the curse of the crowd. Insult and jeer are his right's acknowledgement. 2 tribes slain with him mock his mighty death. He has stored with bleeding brow the Savior way.
Thank you.
He who has found his identity with God pays with the body's death his soul's vast light. His knowledge, immortal, triumphs by his death. Hewn, quartered on the scaffold as he falls, his crucified voice proclaims, I am God. Yes, all is God, peals back heaven's deathless call. The seed of Godhead sleeps in mortal hearts. The flower of Godhead grows on the world tree. All shall discover God in self and things. But when God's messenger comes to help the world and lead the soul of earth to higher things, he too must carry the yoke he came to unloose. He too must bear the pang that he would heal. Exempt and unafflicted by earth's fate, how shall he cure the ills he never felt? He covers the world's agony with his calm. But though to the outward eye no sign appears, and peace is given to our torn human hearts, the struggle is there and paid the unseen price. The fire, the strife, the wrestle are within.
Thank you.
He carries the suffering world in his own breast. Its sins wet on his thought, its grief is his. Earth's ancient Lord lies heavy on his soul. Night and its power blunder each tread steps. The Titan adversary cloth he wears. His march is battle and a pilgrimage. Life evil smites, he is stricken with the world pain. A million wounds gap in his secret heart. His journey, sleepless thought, an unending night. Antagonist force crowd across his path. A siege, a combat is his inner life. Even worse may be the cost, dare the pain. His large identity and all her boring love shall bring the cosmic anguish into his depth. The sorrow of all living things shall come and know at his door and live within his house. A dreadful cord of sympathy can tie all suffering into his single grip and make all agony in all the world his own. He meets an ancient adversary force. He is lashed with the whips that tear the world on heart. The weeping of the century visit his eye. He wears the blood glued fairly censure seats. The passion of the world hath sunken its thought.
Thank you.
In the marketplace of matter's capital, amidst the chafferings of the affair called life, he is tried to the stake of a perennial fire. He burns on an unseen original verge, that matter may be turned to spirit stuff. He is the victim in his own sacrifice, the immortal bound to earth's mortality, appearing and perishing on the roads of time, creates God's moment by eternity's beats. He dies that the world may be newborn and live. Even if he escapes the fiercest fires, even if the world breaks not in a drowning sea, only by hard sacrifice is high heaven earned. He must face the fight, the pang who would conquer hell. A dark concealed hostility is lodged in the human depths, in the hidden heart of time, that claims the right to change and mar God's work. A secret enmity ambushes the world's march. It leaves a mark on thought and speech and act. It stamps stain and defect on all things done. Till it is slain, peace is forbidden on earth.
Thank you.
There is no visible foe, but the unseen is round us. Forces intangible besiege, touches from alien realms Thoughts not our own overtake us and compel the erring heart. Our lives are caught in an ambiguous net. An adversary force was born of old, invader of the life of mortal man. It hides from him the straight immortal path. A power came in to veil the eternal light. A power opposed to the eternal will diverts the messages of the infallible word, contours the contours of the cosmic plan. A whisper lures to evil the human heart. It seals up wisdom's eyes, the soul's regard. It is the origin of our suffering here. It binds art to calamity and pain. This all must conquer who would bring down God's peace. This hidden foe lodged in the human breast, man must overcome or miss his higher fate. This is the inner war without escape.
Thank you.
Hard is the world Redeemer's heavy task. The world itself becomes his adversary. Those he would save are his antagonists. This world is in love with its own ignorance. Its darkness turns away from the Savior light. It gives the cross in payment for the crown. His work is a trickle of splendor in a long night. He sees the long march of time, the little one. A few are saved, the rest strive on and fail. A sun has passed, on earth night's shadow falls. Yes, there are happy ways near to God's sun, but few are they who treat the sunlit path. Only the pure in soul can walk in light. An exit is shown, a road of hard escape from the sorrow and the darkness and the chain. But how shall a few escaped release the world? The human mass lingers beneath the yoke. Escape, however high, redeems not life, life that is left behind on a fallen earth. Escape cannot uplift the abandoned race or bring to it victory and the reign of God.
Thank you.
A greater power must come, a larger light. Although light grows on earth and night recedes, yet still the evil is slain in its own home, and light invades the world's inconscient base, and perished has the adversary force. He still must labor on, his work half done. One yet may come armored, invincible. His will immobile meets the mobile hour. The world's blows cannot bend that victor head. Calm and sure are his steps in the growing night. The goal recedes. He hurries not his pace. He turns not to high voices in the night. He asks no aid from the inferior gods. His eyes are fixed on the immutable aim. Man turns aside or chooses easier paths. He keeps to the one high and difficult road that soul can climb to the eternal peaks. The ineffable plains already have felt his tread. He has made heaven and earth his instruments, but the limits fall from him of earth and heaven. Their law he transcends, but uses as his means.
Thank you.
He has seized life's hands. He has mastered his own heart. The feints of nature mislead not his sight. Inflexible is look towards truth's far end. Fate's deaf resistance cannot break his will. The dreadful passages, the fatal parts, invulnerable his soul, his heart, unslain. He lives through the opposition of earth's powers and nature's ambushes and the world's attacks. His spirit's stature transcending pain and bliss. He fronts evil and good with calm and equal eyes. He too must grapple with the riddling phoenix and plunge into her long obscurity. He has broken into the inconscious depths that veil themselves even from their own regard. He has seen God's slumber shape these magic words. He has watched the dumb God fashioning matter's frame, dreaming the dreams of its unknowing sleep, and watched the unconscious force that built the stars.
Thank you.
He has learned the inconscious workings and its law, its incoherent thoughts and rigid acts, its hazard wastes of impulse and idea, the chaos of its mechanic frequencies, its random calls, its whispers falsely true, misleaders of the hooded listening soul. All things come to its ear, but nothing abides. All rose from the silence, all goes back to its hush. Its somnolence founded the universe. Its obscure waking makes the world seem vain. Arisen from nothingness and towards nothingness turned, its dark and potent nescience was earth's start. It is the waste stuff from which all was made. Into its deeps creation can collapse. Its opposition clogs the march of the soul. It is the mother of our ignorance.
Thank you.
He must call light into his dark abysm, else never can truth conquer matter's sleep, and all earth look into the eyes of God. All things obscure his knowledge must relume, all things perverse his power must unknot. He must pass to the other shore of falsehood's sea. He must enter the world's dark to bring their light. The heart of evil must be bared to his eyes. He must learn its cosmic dark necessity, its right and its dire roots in nature's soil. He must know the thought that moves the demon's act and justifies the titan's earring bride, and the falsehood lurking in earth-crooked dreams. He must enter the eternity of night and know God's darkness as he knows his sun. For this he must go down into the pit. For this he must invade the dolorous vasts. Imperishable and wise and infinite, he still must travel hell the word to save into the eternal.
Thank you. I'll just read the last part here. Into the eternal light he shall emerge, on borders of the meeting of all worlds. There on the verge of nature's summit steps, the secret law of each thing is fulfilled. All contraries heal their long dissidence. There meet and clasp the eternal opposites. Their pain becomes a violent, fiery joy. Evil turns back to its original good, and sorrow lies on the breaths of bliss. She has learned to weep glad tears of happiness. Her gaze is charged with a wistful ecstasy. Then shall be ended here the law of pain. Earth shall be made a home of heaven's light. A seer heaven-born shall lodge in human breasts. The superconscient beam shall touch men's eyes, and the truth-conscious world come down to earth, invading matter with the Spirit's ray, awaking its silence to immortal thoughts, awaking the dumb heart to the living word. This mortal life shall house eternity's bliss. The body's self taste immortality. Then shall the world Redeemer's task be done. Okay, I'd like to stop there, and I want to read a little part of Sri Aurobindo's essay, The Riddle of This World. Now, we've seen in this canto Sri Aurobindo addressing this problem of pain, but he kind of subtly shifted at a certain point and started talking in depth about the avatar, the world redeemer, and how he takes upon himself the pain and suffering of the world and will lead it towards this finale that I read, this transformation of life here, and its opening, pain transmuting into bliss. So I want to read this section, and it kind of explains the part that the avatar plays in this problem of pain and suffering. So this comes in also in Letters on Yoga 1. What I'll read comes in page 257 and 258. He says, "But still, what is the purpose and origin of the disharmony? Why came this division and ego, this world of a painful evolution? Why must this evil and sorrow enter into the divine good, bliss, and peace? It is hard to answer to the human intelligence on its own level, for the consciousness to which the origin of this phenomenon belongs, and to which it stands, as it were, automatically justified in a supra-intellectual knowledge, is a cosmic and not an individualized human intelligence. It sees in larger spaces. It has another vision and cognition, other terms of consciousness than human reason and feeling. To the human mind, one might answer that while in itself the infinite might be free from those perturbations, yet once manifestation began, infinite possibility also began. And among the infinite possibilities, which it is the function of the universal manifestation to work out, the negation, the apparent effective negation, with all its consequences of the power, light, peace, bliss, was very evidently one. If it is asked why, even if possible, it should have been accepted, the answer nearest to the cosmic truth, which the human intelligence can make, is that in the relations or in the transition of the divine in the oneness to the divine in the many, this ominous possible became at a certain point an inevitable. For once it appears, it acquires for the soul descending into evolutionary manifestation an irresistible attraction which creates the inevitability. An attraction which in human terms, on the terrestrial level, might be interpreted as the call of the unknown, the joy of danger and difficulty and adventure, the will to attempt the impossible, to work out the incalculable, the will to create the new and uncreated with one's own self and life as the material, the fascination of contradictories and their difficult harmonization. These things, translated into another supraphysical, superhuman consciousness, higher and wider than the mental, were the temptation that led to the fall. For to the original being of light on the verge of the descent, the one thing unknown was the depths of the abyss, the possibilities of the divine in the ignorance and inconscience. On the other side, from the divine oneness, a vast acquiescence, compassionate, consenting, helpful, a supreme knowledge that this thing must be, that having appeared, it must be worked out, that its appearance is in a certain sense part of an incalculable, infinite wisdom, that if the plunge into night was inevitable, the emergence into a new unprecedented day was also a certitude, and that only so could a certain manifestation of the supreme truth be affected, by a working out with its phenomenal opposites as the starting point of the evolution, as the condition laid down for a transforming emergence. In this acquiescence was embraced too the will of the great sacrifice, the descent of the divine itself into the inconscience, to take up the burden of the ignorance and its consequences, to intervene as the avatar and the Vibhuti, walking between the double sign of the cross and the victory towards the fulfillment and deliverance. A two-imaged rendering of the inexpressible truth, but without images, how to present to the intellect a mystery far beyond it. It is only when one has crossed the barrier of the limited intelligence and shared in the cosmic experience and the knowledge which sees things from identity, that the supreme realities which lie behind these images, images corresponding to the terrestrial fact, assume their divine forms and are felt as simple, natural, implied in the essence of things. It is by entering into that greater consciousness alone that one can grasp the inevitability of its self-creation and its purpose. So this is an essay called The Riddle of This World. It's published as a little separate booklet, but it's in Letters on Yoga 1, pages 253 to 261. Letters on Yoga, Volume 1. So it goes further than this. This is just one excerpt from it. It's about 8 or 9 pages. So I think we'll stop there for today, and then next time we'll go through this first part of the canto again, passage by passage. So do we have any music today?
After a silence, Narad made a reply, tuning his lips to earthly sound. He spoke. Implacable, in the passion of their will, lifting the hammer of titanic toil, the demiurges of universal work, they shape with giant strokes their own. Their sons are marked with their enormous stamp of fire.
Thanks to Sri Aurobindo.